All right, we've got a lot of bombshell news stories coming out about Kamala Harris. The fact that she has picked somebody more radical than herself in order to pick up the state of Minnesota, as well as other big stories. To help me go through those, I have Serge Dupria with me. Serge, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Stephen.
So just some background. Serge is the show producer for Timcast in real life, Timcast IRL, another big conservative. Well, I don't know if you guys would be conservative, maybe libertarian conservative.
Yeah, Tim would not appreciate being called conservative, but yeah, we're kind of in between things, you know.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. On paper, I'm a libertarian, but you know, because they lose everything.
Yeah, totally. Especially after sexual labor, I understand.
Yeah, I like to win. So
Totally.
I wanted to go through some of these stories. A big story that broke just last night is Representative Jamie Raskin, the House representative who led the charge on 2 Donald Trump impeachments, is now saying Donald Trump could win the election, but even if he does, the Democrats have a sneaky plan to block him from becoming president. And he honestly believes that the Supreme Court set him up to be able to do this in order to save the nation. I'm going to run this clip, and then I want you and I to react to it. So let me run that really quick.
Okay.
What can be put into the Constitution can slip away from you very quickly. And the greatest example going on right now before our very eyes is Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which they're just disappearing with a magic wand, as if it doesn't exist, even though it could not be clearer what it's stating. And so, you know, they want to kick it to Congress. So it's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. And then we need bodyguards for everybody in Civil War conditions, all because the 9 justices, not all of them, but these justices who have not many cases to look at every year, not that much work to do, a huge staff, great protection, simply do not want to do their job and interpret what the great 14th Amendment means. And I'm glad that Sherilyn's creating her new center so we can bring that.
All right. So this guy is predicting civil war. He put down all 9 justices. These are people that are highly protected with very little to do, to protect the country, and then says that they have essentially kicked it back to him to pull their own January 6th and to lock up MAGA Republicans, the raging Donald Trump fans. What are your thoughts on this Jamie Raskins guy and his words?
We did cover this on the show the other day, and it was the first time I had seen the footage. I had, because like you said, it just broke, and I was just kind of like, honestly, like in shock that someone is saying, essentially, like you said, trying to foment something that they've been literally rattling on about for what 3 years now, almost 4 years, nonstop about this insurrection, how terrible it was, and how much fear they were in, and how they were worried about the country. And now they're saying, you know, we better get the Supreme Court in line. Like they gotta do their job to interpret the Constitution the way we see fit in order to achieve our political ends, which is something that I can respect. I mean, they're trying to I can respect, and I use that word very loosely. They're using it to achieve their gains. They're trying to win. They understand that the game is to win. But it's dastardly to just suddenly turn around and say, yeah, that's what we need is a civil war. And to say that what they're doing is fomenting war when you guys are the ones who are so up in arms about this. I remember 2020. I remember everything burning in 2020. Like, I'm not an idiot. Most people aren't idiots. Most Americans aren't idiots. And I think it's just it just goes to show what is kind of happening in this country, where you have kind of a ruling class developing, and a lot of it being oh, well, they're just below us, the peasants, the peasantry. It's sickening to me. It's you realize you work for us, sir. You work for me, sir. I pay your bills, sir. Every year when I pay taxes, I pay your bills. So my reaction is just it's just utter shock. I haven't really formed what I would want to think back to it, just other than those are my immediate retorts to it. So
yeah,
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
It's interesting that this is coming from one of the largest megaphones for democracy is on the ballot, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So democracy's on the ballot. If Donald Trump wins, democracy is dead. Democracy, democracy, democracy. They've now installed Kamala Harris without winning a single vote, without winning a single county, without winning a single primary. And we're told that we are usurping and, bothering, bastardizing democracy. And yet it's them. They're also saying, even if the American people and the Electoral College, which is the way that we elect a sitting president, even if the people want Donald J. Trump back in office, that they will now, like you say, foment an insurrection in order to steal that presidency and undermine the voting Americans. Like, is that just hypocrisy at its greatest example?
Yeah, it boggles the mind. It's literally like the greatest example of do what you do, accuse them of doing. Do what you wish to do and accuse them of doing, which is something that is from Solzhenitsyn and Gulag Archipelago. I'm with Phil Labonte, another guy who's on our show. I'm really a staunchly anti-communist. That's why I do what I do. I think that's a large underpinning of what's happening, whether it's actually like, whether it's, you'd say, overt Marxism where people are aware that they're engaged in Marxist practice, or like, what's her name? Waters from BLM saying she's a classically trained Marxist, whatever the hell that means. I think that's underpinning a lot of this stuff, is like this authoritarian bent where they can appoint people and they say you are the person who, the Ubers are the Uberführer of this particular thing. And it's funny is because like they also then balk at the idea that like someone like Kamala Harris, the person that they've nominated to this, could have ever been appointed to a position of border czar, when the whole idea of that came from their party initially, like years prior, I believe during the Obama administration. I'm not really sure if that was during, I don't remember that when that started, but it becomes plain and obvious. Like once you've seen the side of reality, and you've seen like the ideological war that's been going on for like maybe the last probably 20 years under the surface in like Cold War state, and then maybe like the most overt state in the last 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe 5 years most notably. It's really just like this ideological debate as to whether, not even debate, it's gone beyond a debate, because the other side refuses to actually concede points or have a good faith discussion with anything. But it's just this. I don't know. It's like a compulsion to like have like a strong chieftain or something like that was like deeply rooted inside of our DNA. And then it's like I said, not overt. There are people that are maybe engaged in Marxist practice or Marxist praxis without even realizing it's Marxism, because they're looking at it from perspective of like, oh well, I want to be kind to people, I want to be helpful, I want to be like, everyone should provide for everyone else. It's like there's a quote, I forget what it is now, but to everyone's ability to produce to their end, they get whatever they should be deserving as a human being as a basis. And I understand that everyone wants to do that, but in reality it's dog eat dog world, and you have to protect yourself and your own, and you have to rely on what everyone else has. Rely on everyone else in the wisdom of the group, which is why we have democracy. Everyone has their own experiences that leads towards this bigger idea, and saying we choose this person to elect us, or to represent us, not just a random person that the ruling party that I just spoke about a moment ago. This ruling party has decided, oh well, the peasantry doesn't know. They don't know what they need. They're just deciding that Kamala Harris is the person to represent us, when in reality, the most people that are part of the left would say that she's a state prosecutor who put so many people behind prison bars. And remember, like, this is also Crime Bill Joe, like the guy who didn't author the crime bill, but he really pushed it through Congress in 1994. He is the guy who had the vice president who was a state prosecutor. Now they are the party of like of revolution and freedom and all this freedom is all this stuff. It's not freedom. It's just trying to create a false dichotomy of like I said, the underlying Marxist practice that exists, this dichotomy of the oppressor and the oppressed, or like the what would you call it? The capitalists and then the proletariats underneath. It underpins everything, and it's just a frame of mind, I think, that's been going on. I know I kind of went around your question there, but it's something that's what gets me thinking is in relation to this, because it's so on the nose. Like, you're appointing the person to be the president. And then you're attacking me for wanting to say, well, this guy's the most popular guy. And according to the way we've done everything, like for forever, for 248 years, that's how we do it. It's like, it's a popularity contest, and there's good and bad about it. We have an electoral college for that exact reason, that the peasantry can't reason all these things, but everyone has phones now. There's no lack of information. That's why we could argue lobbyists do lobbyists do exist and stuff. Not really. There's so much information. It can be easily accessible via cell phone, et cetera. It can be changed, but I'm not talking about that. I just think it's hilarious how they're literally accusing us of not engaging in democracy or killing democracy, and then appointing rulers. It's just shocking. It's just truly, it's like overt Marxism to me in this case. So
no, I
man,
agree.
it just gets me going. It's something that I was just shocked. I'm honestly it's one of the most shocking things I've seen, and that's saying a lot for the past year. I didn't think it could happen, but I'm constantly keep getting surprised, unfortunately, every other week.
Yeah. Well, let me surprise and shock you a little bit more. I don't know if you saw this, but the Trump assassin, Thomas Matthew Crooks, his autopsy is being blocked from public viewing. The state is covering up who transported his body. The details of the autopsy, the findings, and the photos. This is all very, very suspicious, especially from the fact that he's supposedly shot through the head. There's no brain matter. There's no blood splatter. And there's a river of blood coming down the roof as if he bled out uphill and then back downhill. Something doesn't make sense about this situation and the blood pattern. And yet his autopsy is now unavailable to the public. We're not allowed to know any of these details. This is the same kind of garbage that happened with JFK, right?
Yeah.
He's shot through the throat. To cover that up, they do an autopsy where they say, oh, we had to give him a tracheotomy. And then they put his skull back together, which was completely blown out. They pulled his hair over and they sewed it down in order to make it look like he was shot from the back. Then they say it came through his shoulder, out into the governor of Texas. It went through his body, through his leg, and out his wrist. The magic bullet. All of that autopsy was lied about and covered up for 60 years. And now they're saying there's no conspiracy. The government is not trying to take out Donald Trump, but no one is allowed to know where this kid was really shot, how he died, why the blood splatter doesn't make any sense. The head wound doesn't make any sense. Any thoughts on all of that?
I mean, as far as the public is concerned, most people that I could go around and ask, where I live in West Virginia here, I would go ask them, what do you think about the Kennedy assassination? I think maybe definitely 80 to 75% of people would say that it was an inside job, or there was some CIA involvement. Most people in America, and I'm saying this as an immigrant who moved here and am now an American citizen, most people think that was an inside job, and have thought that for much longer than when everything was declassified just recently, a year or two ago. I forget when it was exactly. But I mean, I look at the situation, it's extremely suspicious. Almost everything is suspicious about it. And if you work in media, you know how difficult it would be to just suddenly appear in a BlackRock commercial. It can happen, but the chances are very unlikely unless you have certain connections within certain different organizations, et cetera. I think it could be very well a setup. And I don't know anything else. And exactly, it's suspicious they'd cover anything up. That only leads me to think that there would be more things that they were hiding about it. Someone should get to those FOIA requests as soon as possible, if that's even possible with this amount of time. I don't know the details of FOIA requests, but if it's possible, it's freedom of information. We need that information. But yeah, I mean, I looked at it immediately and thought, wow, it's like they missed. They tried super hard to make it happen, and the only thing they couldn't account for is, I mean, I've heard so many different conflicting stories personally. I was raised around guns in my life. I've heard people say he used iron sights. I've heard people say he used a red dot sight, and the reticule was too big, so he thought he had a beat on the target, but he couldn't actually make the shot happen. Like he was off by just a centimeter or two. Some people saying, oh, the wind took it and stuff is nonsense. At 150 yards, it's not going to stop a 5.56 round. I think there was 5.56. That's not going to change the direct trajectory of the bullet at 150 yards at all. But that's what I mean. There's so much smoke and mirrors about this whole case, and it just happened just the other day. I don't think we'll ever know what the actual truth is, unfortunately, just because of how much obfuscation, how much sheer weight of false testimony and like nonsense you have to get through, and saying, oh, there's a UFO that was actually the third shooter. Like it's just a bunch of stuff that doesn't really mean anything, doesn't actually come with substance, which is probably intentional, which leads me to think it's intentional. Like you're saying, it's I don't know. And that's why I think most people in America also believe that like the deep state just missed. Like they got so close and they missed. And that's the only thing they couldn't really account for. They got some kid that was a shooter, but he wasn't a good shooter. And they didn't do their research well enough to know that he wasn't that good of a shooter. I don't know. I hearken to think that it would probably be something that was set up. And yeah, it's as simple as that. He like the sweat dropped off his brow or whatever, because he was a little bit nervous, and it like covered his eye and he missed a shot. It could mean anything. It could have been anything. I don't think that they were accounting for that at all.
Yeah. But the thing that is so weird is like, okay, like if you shoot somebody through the head, there's going to be like blood splatter everywhere.
Yeah.
I watched Dexter. I got 5 or 6 seasons of blood splatter analysis.
Yeah.
His teeth are knocked out, like he was hit from the back. And again, he's on an angled roof with his head injury up. How did that much blood pump itself up, down and around his body, and have a river that flowed all the way down the backside? Because you can see it when the Secret Service and the military people, they get on the roof, you can see that long stream of blood. How did that all pump uphill and then go around his body? I don't know. The whole thing is weird, but the fact that they're burying the autopsy details is so suspicious.
It's dark. It's just dark. I don't see any other reason. Like, you can say you want to about like reading people's faces and stuff like that. That's can be kind of pseudoscience sometimes. But when it comes to like when people are covering things up, when people are not allowing you to see the details of something, that never, in my experience, in my almost 32 years of life, have I ever seen that be a case where they didn't have something more that would have endangered them, or would have maybe made them look bad, or would have put scrutiny under. There has to be something. If you're hiding something like that, it's a very different case than not knowing or being unaware and being open to people inquiring and being open to people investigating. But if you're openly hiding information, I don't know. I think that just to me it screams that you obviously had some hand in it, or you had some reason to protect the information from everyone else figuring it out. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, get on those FOIA requests. Whoever knows how to do those, get after it. I should know how to do those. Honestly, I should.
I'm sure someone will go after that. You mentioned earlier this summer of love, where in the summer of 2020. BLM and Tifa, others, they were just burning buildings, attacking the police. The media was wallpapering over it like it was totally normal. Like, yeah, it's fiery but peaceful.
I remember that one.
I'm learning today that Kamala Harris has picked Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota as her running mate. He is the very person that ordered the National Guard to stand down while Minnesota was burned to the ground and destroyed. Everything I'm reading about him is that he is more radical and left-leaning than even her. Are they just doubling down on the progressive wing of the Democrat Party?
I think definitely. I think they're also in fear because they've had this bifurcation over the Palestine-Israel thing they didn't foresee coming. Because I have a lot of friends that are Jewish that have now been suddenly and violently red-pilled into realizing that, oh, okay, wow, this whole movement that I've been a part of for like the last 5 years has actually not been in my best interests. In reality, it has not been what it has, put itself out to be, which is a lot like the BLM thing. Don't even get me started on that after being an ex-LA resident. But yeah, it's I just think that I'm a bit lost for words here. Pardon me.
No, okay. Let me follow up with another question.
Okay.
This same governor, Tim Walz,
Yes.
He was the first governor to make it legal for illegal immigrants to get a government ID and a driver's license,
Which is crazy.
which everyone knows is a stepping stone for illegal voting in elections to keep him in office, but also to vote in a presidential candidate. This opened up hundreds of thousands of new voters in the state of Minnesota, all of which are illegal, right, but they're counting them as legal. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, like I said a second ago, I was just trying to figure out how I was going to loop this back to it. But like you said, Michigan, everyone knows Dearborn, Michigan is very heavily Muslim. It's a very heavily Muslim populated area. I lived in Singapore in high school, so I have a lot of Muslim friends as well, most of which are moderate Muslims. Almost all of them are moderate Muslims, because they wouldn't interact with me if I was outside of Islam, really, if they were hardline individuals. So most people you interact with that are Muslim that you may think of in your daily life are regular people. There are just these hardline people that exist in these groups that do crazy things that make everyone look bad. That's how it usually is. That's how people on our side of the current political aisle maybe feel about people that are like, a bit extreme and want to say extreme things and do extreme things. We don't necessarily align with it, but we understand where they're coming from, and we can relate to it in a sense. So I think that they're trying, like you said, double down onto what they did, because they've realized they have this bifurcation over the Palestine issue, because they've lost probably the very wealthy Jewish people that are going to be giving money to the DNC and Act Blue and all this stuff. And yet they also have all of the people that are essentially like their working army, essentially their working protest army, that the Black Bloc army that used to be called Black Bloc, but it was then called Antifa 4 years ago. It is kind of now whatever it might be, just Democrat operatives, whatever you want to call it. I don't know if you would even call it that, because they hate the Democrats too. They openly say they do. That's why we're not going to the DNC to go cover it on the ground, because we just fear it's going to be crazy, especially when you have this guy, Wentz, being Waltz, W-A-L-Z. He's the first time I've actually learned he was the guy responsible for all of Michigan burning. And I mean, it was a lot of it. My brother's wife, my sister-in-law, is from Wisconsin. And so she's talked about a lot of the stuff that went on. I think she was raised in Milwaukee. So she talked about this stuff at length. And I think they're just trying to double down, because they see no other option to get that group of people back into voting for their party, if that makes sense. They have no other means to okay, well, we gotta do kind of throw a Hail Mary and say, let's get this guy in, because he seems to understand that if you just keep bending the knee, then they'll just keep being nice to you, keep bending the knee, keep kowtowing, keep bending the knee. And the problem with that is it's only going to get more extreme. And eventually, if you know anything about history and the French Revolution, they're going to come for your head too. If you keep doing this, you keep feeding the bear. Eventually the bear is going to get too hungry for whatever you're feeding it. It's going to come bite your hand, as we'd say in Afrikaans. Not a bear, it'd be a lion, but it's I don't know what they're thinking. I don't think that people even look at Kamala Harris, who had, again, we talked about this on the show on Timcast. She has no policy statements on her website, and she's running for office. 0 policy statements. That's crazy. That's never really been a thing in American history. I know she just kind of got given the job, all of a sudden got appointed to this position, but you don't have any policy statements at all. You're still the vice president. Right? You should still have some semblance of an understanding of what a domestic policy looks like, what a foreign policy looks like. And she has nothing. She has nothing. No tax doctrine. No ideas how she's going to fund any of her operations. Nothing. And it's we all kind of knew this was going to be the case. I lived in California when I was young. We all knew that was going to be the case. I lived in California in Hollywood just before I moved out to West Virginia to work here for Timcast. And if you're in the know politically, that there was not going to be anything behind this. There was not going to be any real substance behind this. There's hardly any substance behind Joe, other than hey, I'll show up in office, and the first day I'm going to start rescinding literally everything my predecessor did with direct executive orders, which is ludicrous. It's ludicrous. What about the things that you couldn't even look at it and say you've bought into this whole MSNBC lie that Trump is the devil? So much so that you couldn't look at his policies and say, well, there's one that I agree with. There's one that I agree with. There's one that no, they're all bad. Get rid of all of them. Are you crazy? Yes. Yeah, potentially. Yes. We don't know for sure, but that's what that behavior leads me to think. So, I mean, yeah, they're trying to double down. I don't think it's going to pay out for them. I think all it's going to do is going to make people that are like riotous, they're going to realize this is the guy that was in control of Michigan, et cetera, during that period of time. And they're just going to go just as crazy as they had done 4 years ago. They're just at the end of they got into university in their freshman year, and they're now graduating, and they're doing it all over again for their senior party, their senior way out, if you will. And I don't think it's going to be good. I think the DNC is going to be crazy. I think we're going to see crazy footage from the DNC. And I don't even know. I don't even know what to expect anymore, because they keep pulling stuff out of the hat that I keep continuously being shocked. Like I said earlier, 2024 has just been crazy, and it doesn't seem to slow down. October surprise, like try every one of the months up until October has been a surprise. So
yeah.
Who knows, man? Who knows what's coming? But I don't think it's going to work out.
Yeah, I think the DNC could be wild. Well, I don't know that this guy really brings a lot to the ticket. I mean, I can see where you would go, okay, we need the swing state of Minnesota to remain a swing state in our favor. I could see that. But let me point out another big thing that this guy is famous for. He said that he wants, of all of America, he wants Minnesota to be known as the transgender refugee state.
Wow.
So if you've got children that want to chop off their genitals, you can't get it in Utah because the Mormons are too conservative, or you can't get it in Florida because Ron DeSantis is too conservative, or Greg Abbott's too conservative. You can come up here. We'll chop your baby's genitals off. No problem. Oh. That's what he wants to be known for. And so he made it legal for minors to have these without parental consent. He also made it legal for the state to take your child if you don't affirm their new gender or the ideology that the school is teaching them about gender. How dangerous is this?
Like beyond dangerous, especially because we are now doing like 1984 stuff where we're literally having our children rat us out for thought crimes, when in reality what's happening is they're being indoctrinated by their teachers to have this, what I think is like it's criminal. It's even if somebody has gender dysphoria, I'm in the dance music world. I've been involved in dance music for a long time, so I've met people that are trans, and I've met people that are gay. It's not a big deal for me. But if you are trans, and something that I like, is this something that you really feel is the best way to treat the way you feel? Do you think that because you have a mental thing a mental block telling you something, do you think that's not just a mental disorder versus it's literally you have to change your entire physiology because of something you're thinking in your mind? I think that's criminal to tell somebody that like they use there's often used like the idea of like alien hand syndrome, or the idea that you don't need a particular appendage of your body. You feel like it doesn't belong to you and you want to cut off. It's a real neurological disorder. The way you treat that is not to say, all right, let's lop it off. Let's chop your arm off. Let's put it on the table. I'm going to get a hacksaw. I'm going to cut it off like the 1860s. No, that's not how you treat that. It's not even close to how you treat that. It's barbaric to think that it can be applicable to your genitalia because they're your reproductive organs. Like, what's the difference? I don't understand. Your right hand is just as useful as your reproductive organs. You shouldn't, what are you talking about? You want to cut it off of a child? And that's for most people that are reasonable people. I think people like myself and you would be shocked at, almost appalled at. I am shocked and appalled at the idea that you would do that to a child. But I just think that they think that maybe they see that, as I talked earlier, they think that they're trying to be kind in some sick way, but it's not truly being kind. Being kind is helping that person get through the delusion that they're experiencing and figuring out where the root of the delusion and the root of where this idea has born of, where this idea that you are the other immutable, like you're another, you can change immutable characteristics of yourself. No, like when I was a kid in the 90s, we were taught to accept yourself who you are, not change everything about yourself and render yourself down to make yourself what you think you should be. You can be anything you want didn't mean you can be a girl. It meant you can be a firefighter, or you can be a plumber or an electrician, or you can go to school and you become a lawyer, or you can become a doctor. It didn't mean like God forbid, cut your appendages off. Like that's just such a ludicrous it's just a misaligning of probably from the education department just being so, probably teachers being so poorly funded that they just didn't care much to do their jobs well. And then that turned into people that actively didn't want to do their jobs well and actively wanted to harm kids and actively, as we've seen a lot of cases, like this guy in New York. I don't know if you've seen this yet. There's a guy in New York that is like a prosecutor who was dealing in cases of children that are like minors that had been abused and et cetera. And now he was caught by some predator catchers trying to meet up with a minor. Yeah. Some guy in New York.
Headlock and held him.
Yes, correct. That's the exact story. And if that's, so that is maybe what has happened now. I think that it's a lot, like I said, it's not necessarily like overt Marxism where they realize that they're trying to like overthrow a country or subvert everything in the country. But what they're engaging is Marxist in praxis. It is Marxist in the practice of it. They're just doing something that they think is kind, but it's not really kind. In actuality, it's enabling. It's like giving a heroin addict money. You know, it's not going to help them. It's going to help them get high and it'll help make them happy for a minute, but it's not going to help them come back to their family or lead a productive life or even live for the next 5 to 6 years. You know, like it's not a joke. And I don't know how he could even say that in good conscience, but you know, he's kowtowing in every which way that he possibly can it's essentially like appeasing Hitler. If we want to start using Hitler things, it's like appeasing Hitler and giving Hitler everything he wants and saying, oh, he's not going to start a war. Oh, he's just blowhard. He's just saying all this stuff. And then, you know, suddenly September 1st rolls around and then suddenly he's in Poland. It's going to happen faster than you think. It's like they say, like a landslide happens all at once. It builds up over time, but it happens all at once. And there's no stopping it once it starts. Again, I brought the French Revolution again. There's no stopping it once it starts. Once those rivers of blood start coming down the streets, it's not very easy to slow that down. And I fear that what he's doing and the way that he's bending the knee to these people that are the overt Marxists that do know what they're doing, who are controlling the useful idiots, which is if you're in the know, you know exactly what that word means, controlling the useful idiots to make them do the dirty work and to overthrow the government in time. They're the ones who are aware of this. They are making this happen by using people that don't know what they're doing, and they're going to cause this. Who knows? I don't want to say civil war, like to sound like that. The Representative Raskin. I don't want to sound like that. But you know, if you keep pushing, I don't think that you will like the outcome of what comes. I think kids today, as well, being from Africa, and I can say that I'm South African. I'm comfortable saying that. If people from here are American, then I'm African by every right of the word. I think that people don't know how good they have it here. They don't know how good life is in America. And they're so ready and willing to say, oh, it's terrible. And I hate this and stuff. But trust me, what you're pushing for and what you're trying to get, you're not going to like. You don't know what you're talking about. And unfortunately, I think it becomes more and more the reality. Like I said, it surprises me every day. Every day I turn my phone in the morning. It surprises me every day what is happening every day in the world. I don't even know. I just think that it's all going to come to a head somehow at some point. I don't know what it's going to be like, but yeah, that's my biggest fear right now. I'm trying to live every day like it's my last. You know what I mean? So
yeah. Okay. Final question. I appreciate you spending the day with me. So you are a legal immigrant from South Africa, and you've lived internationally in all kinds of incredible locations. What are your thoughts about all of these illegals coming in and getting preferential treatment, better treatment than veterans, seniors, American citizens, while your family had to bend over backwards in order to become legal citizens? What, from a legal immigrant standpoint, what is your thoughts on that?
Try again, I get why you want to come here, and it's hard to come here, but we had nothing when we moved to America. We lived in an apartment in San Jose. We had nothing. So I look at it and understand that it's difficult. I get that it's difficult. I understand that it is. I understand why you're doing it, because you were literally told to come and do it, and that you'd be welcome with open arms up here. But you can't argue for higher taxes and then open the tax base underneath me and say oh, well, we're going to pay for all of them. When we have all these poor Americans, I lived in LA for 5 years, and I watched it completely fail and completely buckle under its own weight. Thanks, Governor Newsom. Appreciate it all the time that you maybe spend there. And you're going to tell all these people that have gone, even the American people that have gone there legally, or people that are of Chicano or Tejano descent, that they've lived in America and have been part of this area of America for longer than America's existed. And you're going to tell them, okay, now you got to pay for all the guys from El Salvador, or not necessarily El Salvador is a different case, all the guys from Venezuela in particular, and all these other countries down south of you, because, well, you know, that's just what you got to do. You got to be a good person and stuff. No, that's nonsense. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous to me. I think it's just sick, and it spits in the face of everyone from my country, from South Africa, everyone from Africa, all the Nigerians that come here, the Igbo, the Yoruba that come to this country, and our doctors, our lawyers have extremely high earning potential. People that come from India and everything, that are intelligent people that are contributing to the workforce. People can come here and do jobs. It's not like we don't want that. It's not like it's impossible to become a legal immigrant. Just because it's difficult doesn't mean it's impossible. It's not impossible. I've done it, all that stuff. And I value America because I wanted to come here, because I knew that America would allow me to live a better life, allow my family to live a better life, allow my ancestors to live a better life. And if you're coming here on like illegally, you're not willing to make the sacrifices that are necessary for you to be truly understanding what America means, I think. And I think that's unworthiness. I think that's unworthiness. If you don't want to play ball, then you have no business being here. I think that's a lot of what the UK is dealing with now. They've kind of realized that they couldn't just open their borders up to everybody. Sweden had this problem as well many years ago, about 10 years ago prior. You can't just open the border up to anybody and have free reign of your country. France is dealing with this problem as well. And yet somehow Poland is fine. Somehow the neighboring countries that understood that we need to keep our borders secure are doing very well. Norway is doing excellently in both similar geographical areas, and they never had this problem. Hungary doing excellent. It's sad to see that people have to touch the pot and have to be burned by the pot to have this happen to them. But it's like it's sickening to see someone just say, like, you can come across the border and risk your family's life coming across the border through extremely dangerous part of land in Panama, just to get to this country to potentially be turned around and have lost tens of thousands of dollars, probably family members, everything like that, because you want to do it illegally. Like, why wouldn't you just get on a plane and pay the extra money and come and be an honest hard worker here? It's because you're just not the kind of person that wants to make the sacrifices. Like I said, the sacrifices necessary to be American, to understand what freedom is, and that it's not free. Freedom is not a free thing. It costs money. It takes time. It takes effort. You can come here. Everyone can come here. Everyone's welcome here, but you do it legally. That's the whole point. I did it. It's not like you can't do it. I have friends that just did it. I have a friend that just did his commencement or commencement. What's the word? I forget what it's called. I've done it as well. I don't remember what the name of the thing is. But he became an American, and he was so happy. He wears an American flag all the time. Like, it breaks flag code, whatever you want to say, but he's proud to be American. He knows what he's come from to be American, and he's overjoyed to be here. And he's so happy. He knows more about American history and the American legal system than most natural Native Americans that I know, as do I. I'm much shocked people don't know how this works and are willing to just let this Raskin guy be like, oh yeah, he can say whatever he wants and send us to civil war. But, you know, I forget that I pay his salary. He's not my Führer. He's not the guy on top of me that controls me. He's not my king. But he sure acts like it, doesn't he? They sure act like they're regents and kings and rulers, but they're not. They're your employees. They work for you. That's the way the government works and always has. And I know that because I'm American, because I understand the system, because I care about the system, because I like the system, because I didn't like the lack of system in South Africa. I like having a system of government. I like having a functioning country, you know? So yeah, it makes me annoyed. It really bothers me that people are willing to say that stuff. It's frustrating, to say the least.
Yeah. Well said. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts on that. Well, I know we're up against time. I appreciate you coming on and going over all this. If people want to follow you or the show online, where can I point them towards?
You can follow Timcast IRL. It's pretty much at Timcast IRL on most platforms. I know like Twitch has banned us and stuff like that, or not Twitch. TikTok has banned us for typical nonsense, as I'm sure you are all used to. Personally, you can follow me at surge.com on X. I just deleted my Twitter account for about a month and got it back because I just couldn't handle it. It was just a little too blackpilling, but I'm back on X now because I have to contractually be on X. And everything like that is the same at surge.com. Just spell it out.
Okay, great. I will make sure to do that. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. I hope you have a great rest of your day.